Alright, welcome back to Adobe Muse CC. In this tutorial we're going to basically cover on how to create a portfolio. So as you can see from our site here, we have populated it with lots of pages here, including video page, last tutorial. So in this tutorial I've extended just the base here, giving us a little bit more breathing room, and what we want to do is create a portfolio. So in the widgets library, we have under the slideshow menu, there's options here. So if I twirl this open, we have the basic, blank slideshow, full screen, lightbox, and thumbnails. As you click on them, you kind of get a preview here. The one that has the most options typically is the lightbox. So I'm going to drag that one out and then release. And you'll see options over here on the right. Just click out, and we can get to them in a sec, and then minimize this. The first thing I want to do is actually set up where do I want this thing to be. So I'm going to kind of center it here. And you can see here that you have a couple of different things. You have the previews here, which actually, as you click on them, the thumbnails, you can actually slide them down, so you have the ability to adjust them. And then you have the controls. As I zoom in here, you have the numbering system here and the arrows, which allows you to basically click through each of these photos. And you'll see you have some lorem ipsum text here, right here, basically placeholder text for each of the images. And so I could rename these whichever one I want. So I'm going to name it like zombie number 4, and then advance the next one and add zombie number 5, and then advance it one more time to zombie number 6. So I have here essentially renamed them. So I've renamed the photos, 4, 5, and 6. Now that really doesn't do much because these aren't zombie images, but what we can do is now click on the container, go to the options here with a little blue widget with a little arrow, and open up. And in here you'll have some options. So there's a couple of them. The main ones is the hero image, which is this, basically fill content proportionally or fill frame proportionally. I'm going to leave it the default. You can do the same thing down here. You can fill frame proportionally or fill content proportionally. Transition you can adjust here, and there's some transition speed options there. Most of the stuff I can leave the default. There is an option of full screen here, which we'll try out later on. You can turn on and off the captions here if you don't want the captions, which I just created. But basically that's it. So if I check preview, you'll see what will happen here. Basically I have these little thumbnails. I can click on one, it'll say zombie 4, and then click and click. And now these are the photos that basically came with the widget. But what about your own photos? Well, let's go back to the options here. Up here at the top it says add images. So what you do is you click on this little folder icon, and then you can click on these and add, basically whichever images you want. So I'm actually going to add more than the 3. I'm going to add 2, 3, let's see, 4. Actually, I have 5 of the zombies here, and click open. And what will happen is it'll start to populate all 5 photos. And by default, what will happen is it'll actually add additional numbers from where I left off. As you can see here, this is zombie number 8. So as I click through, it says 6, 5, 4, 3. So, or 4. That was the first one I started. So if I start with 1, then they would cycle through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now I can go to preview and check this out. So now, as I scroll down here, here are my little thumbnails. I click on one of these, and now I have the options here, and I can click through and advance through these images, which is pretty cool. So let's see what other options we have. So let's close that, go back to clicking the object, the outside container, and click on this little option here. One thing that is very important is possibility of full screen. So if we click on that and click out, you have the ability to make it much larger. Now you can also, once you do that, you can click on it and adjust the size of it. So once you have it clicked, I can scale this down. So maybe I don't want it full, but I want it bigger than what it was. So I can scale it down to an appropriate size, however big I want here. And let's check preview again and see what happens here. So I got these little thumbnails again. I click, and then here they are, and Now I can advance through the images. Now you'll see the arrows are kind of overlapping the images here, and you might be able to adjust that. Sometimes it's a little tricky. We could definitely select each of these and hold the shift key for those three and basically nudge them over a bit, and we could see if that works. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll hit preview and let's just see if I click on one of these. Yeah, so it worked okay. But sometimes it does end up in a weird place, just the nature of the beast, so to speak. But yeah, so and if you wanted to change the typeface color or the style and anything, you can basically go in. Let me zoom in here and double click, and you basically go down to its root text and you can change the color. So if I want this instead of be white, I want it to be red. I can do that. Same with these arrows. I can highlight them and make them red also. And then let's scroll over to this side, and maybe the text I want to be red also. I can obviously change the different typeface, but let's just change the styling here for right now, the color. And let's click preview and see how this looks. So I'll click on one of these, doesn't matter which one, and then there we have the numbers and the red, and it shows up really nice. So that's the basic introduction overview of creating your own slideshow in Adobe Muse. Until next time, cheers!